Hey guys, welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. I'm your host, Toy Guru Neitlich, longtime toy making professional, but also toy collector myself, which makes me a little unique in the toy industry. And I'm a big fan of collecting Marvel Legends, X-Men figures, Fantastic Four figures. I tend to put most of my figures, I kind of collect by shelf. And I don't collect the entire Marvel universe, I collect the ones that, well, just kind of speak to me or fill in gaps from my childhood. And one of my favorite Marvel Legends shelves is my Spider-Man villain shelf. It's just something about Spider-Man's villains that I've always thought were so cool. Now, don't get me wrong, I also obviously have Spider-Man action figures, but they tend to be more kind of scattered around my office in different places. You know, I've got the retro one, I have that amazing one that came with the raft from Comic-Con, or the raft box set with the McFarlane sculpt that they still haven't released in any way at retail. Come on, make it happen, Hasbro. And then, of course, there's the very first Marvel Legends, or rather, that was when it was Spider-Man Classics, I think that was what it was called, back that kicked it all off. And that figure still holds up. It's kind of got that almost Eric Larson look with the eyes that I like. But yeah, that figure is great. Spider-Man makes great toys. What can I say? And with the retro waves that Hasbro's been pumping out lately, we're getting more and more Spider-Man secondary characters. So that kind of makes me think, well, now that we're on the verge of another retro wave that's hitting retail, what's left? I mean, Hasbro's covered a lot of Spider-Man supporting cast. With other groups, other shelves, shall we say, things like X-Men, which I also collect, they tend to be more about different eras. Obviously, there's the Jim Lee 1992 era that tends to be, well, I could say the most popular X-Men visual look out there, mostly because of the animated series. But Hasbro has not been shy about doing other eras of X-Men characters, and you can start to kind of collect your favorite version, you can collect your favorite character across different eras. You know, they've done alternate realities like Age of Apocalypse, all sorts of cool stuff. With Spider-Man, it tends to be only two looks, more like classic versus modern, as opposed to X-Men that change their outfits every 2 years and have a completely different look. Spider-Man is pretty much look more or less the same. So his villains tend to have kind of that modern version, like this is modern Boomerang, if you will, and then there is classic Boomerang. So same character, different outfits, just basically the outfit that they wore since the 60s and 70s, and then the one they wore in the 90s and 2000s. Hasbro's done Boomerang in his modern look, but they have not done the classic one, and that tends to be where I drift. I drift to the classic look for the characters. So obviously, if you are a superior Foes of Spider-Man fan, well, you're in luck, because modern versions of most of those characters have been made, and modern Boomerang is one of them. But if you are a fan of the Deadly Foes of Spider-Man, and you want the classic Boomerang, well, out of luck. Hasn't happened yet. In fact, there has only ever been that one Boomerang figure, the modern one. This is it. This is the only Spider-Man villain Boomerang action figure that's ever been made. I guess he didn't quite make the Mego or Secret Wars cutoff. What can you say? Granted, we've had some hero clicks of Boomerang, and we've gotten both his classic version and the modern version done as hero clicks. I mean, with the size and scale of hero clicks, it's no shock that they can pump out multiple looks of the same character. All right, another one that we haven't had an updated Marvel Legends yet is Swarm. You should probably be like, wait a minute, I've never heard of Swarm. I mean, he's a little bit obscure, but come on, they did White Rabbit and Frogman. Swarm is a character who is made up of bees that all actually share an intelligence. And yeah, I mean, he's one of Spider-Man's wackier villains, and he's had wacky action figures in the Spider Force line that Toy Biz put out that came out sort of before Marvel Legends and after the first wave of Spider-Man retro figures, or heck, when they weren't retro. The Spider Force line had other bug-type characters, but Hive was one of the coolest, and this is the only Swarm. This is the only Swarm toy figure that we've ever gotten. He's never had another action figure. And I actually repainted mine as a Savage Dragon character called the Wicked Worm, so I don't even have mine anymore. Well, actually, Horde, but that's a whole other story. And of course, there's the HeroClix, but how cool would a Marvel Legends figure of this B-Man look? I mean, make it happen. Smythe. So another character that was pretty popular in the 90s that has not made it into Marvel Legends yet, There's been a few looks of him in his different Spider Slayer outfits with the sort of tusk tentacles coming off of his back. This again is that sort of 90s version that most people remember, and especially because this was the look that he had on the Spider-Man animated series, which means it was also the version that was available in the Spider-Man animated line, what I was calling the old retro line. Of course, it wasn't retro when it came out; it was new. So yeah, he was a major villain on the show and got transformed into more of his Spider Slayer look, if you will, later in the course of the show, and he's had, like the others, hero clicks, but yeah, we have not gotten a figure of him since the original Marvel animated series figure. So definitely long overdue in Marvel Legends and a good core Spider-Man villain. All right, digging even deeper into Spider-Man's rogue gallery, we get the Enforcers. Now, these are not characters that I'm hugely familiar with. Characters like Montana, Fancy Dan, and Ox. They were three of the core members. There were other members that rotated in and out, and more or less they're kind of colorful gangsters. I mean, granted, they used to wear pink and green, and modern it's been toned down more to tans and blues. They really are just guys in like 1930s style clothing with fedoras and cowboy hats, and that might not make the most exciting action figure, but again, we're trying to complete Spider-Man's villains. Not going to settle for these bootleg Legos. I would love to get a fully articulated set. Maybe a box set? Yeah, like that'll ever happen. But hey, throwing it out there. All right, you knew this wouldn't be a Spider-Man villain video without me pimping the Spot, who is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain of all time, mostly because he was in my first Spider-Man comic book of all time, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 100. Although he first appeared 2 issues earlier, which was his origin, where he sort of actually tied into Cloak from Cloak and Dagger. He visits Cloak's dimension and kind of gets stuck like this, but the silliness is definitely there from the beginning. Even Spider-Man laughs at this new enemy, who boastfully calls himself the Spot. But his powers are pretty aggressive, and he's got a really cool, unique look. I mean, not just the white with the black spots, and he actually has 3 different face looks. There's the classic look, there's the animated look, where he's got kind of more of like a villain mask, and then there's the modern look, where he just has one giant spot in the middle of his face. So he'd probably need multiple heads, kind of like some of the Nightcrawler and some of the other Marvel Legends. We have had a Spot action figure, believe it or not, as part of the 10-inch Marvel Universe line that came out in conjunction with kind of the animated series and the overall Marvel figures that Toy Biz was pumping out in their pre-Marvel Legends days. It's a cool figure. It's a repaint of Spider-Man. You can tell from the way the hand is because it's posed in web shooting mode. Other villains were done in this scale as well, including, of course, Spider-Man and other heroes. But yeah, Spot was kind of a surprise to show up like this because I think it was really because it was a cheap repaint. And hopefully it will be in Marvel Legends too. In fact, I know from my sort of spy network that Spot has already been sculpted and painted and actually looks like this. He has Spider-Man's arm coming out of his chest. Hopefully it just snaps on and off for different looks. So yeah, come on, you've already got it sculpted, Hasbro. Release Spot already. Although I could understand they may be hitting a Zebra Batman issue, which if you're not familiar with that, it's basically when a figure has so much deco, so many stripes, that it makes it so expensive to put out, way more expensive than a regular figure. So it either has to be a deluxe, or in this case, Batman and his zebra outfit was a Comic-Con figure Mattel did. Because, yeah, we tried so hard to get this into the main line, but that deco. Some other figures, or villains that have never had figures, include characters like Sin Eater, who is tied heavily, I guess you could say, into Venom's origin, and, an interesting look with the green mask. We've also got Molten Man, who, with his flat-top haircut and, flaming yellow sort of, I always thought he was kind of made of gold, but yeah, we've had a Molten Man movie figure that was a Build-A-Figure, but not really the same. This definitely does not take the place of having a classic Molten Man action figure. He did become a good guy for a while, but he's kind of considered one of Spider-Man's rogues. Another one is Man-Wolf, not to be confused with the Wolf Man. This is actually J. Jonah Jameson's son, who was changed into his wolf form after a trip to the moon. I think there was a magic diamond involved. I don't know, it all kind of blends. There's been a lot of mileage. We have had a Man-Wolf action figure in the Marvel Legends sort of Spider-Man subline that had action features. These figures kind of fit in with the Toy Biz Marvel Legends, but not totally. Silvermane, another really cool Spider-Man villain, although he'd probably take quite a lot of tooling to do his cyborg body right. I mean, we could just get him in, like, again, a gangster outfit, but this is really the outfit or the look that is way more toyetic and, well, way cooler. Now, for nitpickers out there, yes, technically we've gotten Silvermane as a head attached to a remote control car that came with Speed Demon in the Superior Foes wave long ago, but yeah, we need a full Silvermane. All right, rounding out the villains, the Chameleon. All right, now I know we've gotten Chameleon action figures. He's actually been done in quite a few lines. He shows up all the time because he's rather simple action figure to make, and if you have a basic suit buck in your line, well, he just becomes a head. And when he was released in Marvel Legends a few years ago, he had 3 heads. He had a Chameleon head, he came with a J. Jonah Jameson head, and a Hammerhead head, which was not just because the Chameleon could change his look, but, with the generic body, those are 2 other characters that use a generic suit body. The reason I bring up Chameleon and talk about wanting him in Marvel Legends is because, well, he's had other looks, and specifically the look from the animated series is very very toyetic. It's colorful, he's got shoulder pads, he's got a puffy purple outfit, and, that really cool giant blaster gun. The animated series really did set a lot of standard for characters' looks, although, I'm glad we got Classic Octopus versus the one with the yellow armor that the show introduced, so it's a give and take. But any action figure that had swappable heads was pretty big in my book. I never had this figure as a kid. And the blue suit totally works. Chameleon, it's legit. He's worn a blue suit in the comics and in the content, over and over again. But he's had quite a few looks, and whether we get the sort of bathrobe look or the animated series look with the purple suit and shoulder pads, I feel like Chameleon kind of needs to get another shot. He was really just done on that suit body back in the day with a new head, and plus, it was years ago, and that figure is quite expensive, and I never picked it up. So, I guess for me personally, Hasbro needs to do it. I mean, come on, Chameleon was the very first villain that Spider-Man ever fought in his first issue, after he was done teaming up with the Fantastic Four, of course. So, yeah, this is a character that's part of Spider-Man's legacy, and it would be great to get him in Legends, and not just as a, Hammerhead and J. Jonah Jameson vehicle. Especially because both of those characters have had their own Marvel Legends released since then, that are much more accurate, have better body types, better body bucks, that are closer representations to the source material. Hammerhead using the body from Happy Hogan, and J. Jonah Jameson using the body from Claw from the Black Panther line. So it worked perfectly, a great way to use those existing tools. Let's not let Lego and Minimates and, these other, easy-to-market lines own the Chameleon. We need our own. Okay, last but not least, talking about Spider-Man villains, well, while not everyone thinks of Aunt May as a Spider-Man villain, I mean, come on, she was always against Spider-Man from day one, always telling Peter how much she hated Spider-Man and would like to, get rid of Spider-Man. So come on, Aunt May is like Spider-Man's greatest villain, right? Okay, yeah, I know she knew Peter was Spider-Man the whole time, and it was just a way of trying to get him to be safe. But come on, I mean, we've got our Gwen Stacy figure, we have Mary Jane. You need Aunt May, and, while Aunt May has had some changes over the years, and, we've seen versions more realistic, or live-action versions that were more realistic, if you will, to the content, we can't let this be our only Aunt May toy. I mean, this thing is, scary looking. I mean, not even close to being a warm, loving aunt of Peter Parker. It was from a sort of Mego-esque line that Toy Biz did. It was basically plush clothing or soft goods clothing over hard bodies. It worked really great for characters like the Incredible Hulk, but Aunt May, an odd choice to put in this line, and odd that this was the only Aunt May figure we ever got. I mean, we've had Minimates, but Minimates, Lego figures, I tend not to think of them as much as action figures as mini figures. I suppose they're action figures, but yeah, let's not let Lego and Minimates, have Aunt May and not get a proper 6-inch scale version to put with Peter Parker. We're getting a lot more than just Spider-Man, and come on, this cannot be the only Aunt May toy that we will ever get. I mean, this toy gives me nightmares. I constantly am waking up in the middle of the night thinking about it almost okay, I'm not, but you get the point. She's, a classic Spider-Man character, and we need Aunt May. She's a hero. She's a villain. She's everything. She's a big part of his life. And It's about time that we got a cool Aunt May action figure. Maybe it'll take a movie. Who knows? I mean, heck, I'd even love to see like a Comic-Con version where they recreate her famous wedding with Dr. Octopus, which is kind of like one of those quintessential 1960s moments. Who did I miss? Did I miss any Spider-Man villains? Let me know. Share this video with others. Comment below. I'm sure there's an obscure villain I haven't covered, and love to know which Spider-Man villains you'd still love to see in Marvel Legends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.